Warrior Cats, Crookedstars Promise by Erin Hunter, Chapter 29. Greenleaf had taken hold. The sun shone from a wide blue sky, and the beech copse swayed in the breeze. Sedgepaw crouched beneath the whispering leaves, chest pressed to the grass. Quietly now. Crooked dropped a leaf a tail length in front of her. Pretend this is a bird. It has better hearing than you. It's faster than you. He leaned closer, and it's much more frightened than you. Sedgepaw narrowed her eyes. She pulled herself forward silently as a snake. Good. Crooked willed her on. One paw at a time, she crept up on the leaf. Then, in a sudden flurry of paws, she jumped. Did I get it? Did I get it? She squeaked. Crooked heart sank. She landed half a tail length past it. Oakheart shrugged. It was a good try. You should do better, though. Beetlenose patted from the trees, while Reedpaw and Loudpaw snuffled with amusement behind him. He silenced them with a flick of his jab. Sedgepaw meowed gently. You've got a lot of strength in your hind legs. He glanced at Crooked, making sure that it was okay to offer advice to his apprentice. Crooked nodded. Go ahead. He could use all the help he could get with Sedgepaw. She had so much enthusiasm, it was painful watching her fail at every task by a whisker. Beetlenose hooked the leaf in his paw. You need to adjust your jump to take all that strength into account. He dropped the leaf in front of her. Don't push so hard and keep your eyes on your target. Sedgepaw crouched again. I'll get it this time. If it doesn't get you first, Reedpaw teased. Sedgepaw wriggled her hindquarters and jumped. She landed square on top of the leaf and sat up, ears switching as she stared at the ground around her. Ready to go. Did I miss it again? Reedpaw rolled his eyes. Can we go fishing now? He mewed. It's getting hot. You need to learn how to hunt birds as well as fish, Crooked reminded him. Loudpaw sniffed. I want to learn battle moves. We need to win back Sunning Rocks. ThunderClan had reset the scent markers, making Sunny Rocks theirs again, just after Leafball, and Hailstar had refused to risk lives seizing it back during the hardest moons. Oakheart sighed. Perhaps we should just give ThunderClan leaf bear hunting rights here. Leaf bear hunting rights there, he suggested. That's always when they take it. They must need the prey. What? Beetlenose stared at him. They'll take over our whole territory if we start making promises like that. Yeah. Reedpaw lined up beside his mentor. They've got a whole forest. If they can't find enough prey, they must be bad hunters. Gurjaw flicked the end of his tail. Shellheart's been trying to persuade Hailstar to reclaim Sunning Rocks for a moon. I don't know why he's hesitating. It was easy last time. Loudpaw ripped at the grass. Are we going to learn battle moves or not? Sedgepaw flattened her ears. My shoulders still sore from last time we tried. You should move quicker, Reedpaw snapped. I move quicker than you, Sedgepaw retorted. Yes, but always in the wrong direction. Crooked swallowed back a sigh. He padded to the edge of the beech copse and looked across the meadow. Let's try some of the moves Oakheart invented for distracting two legs. Sedgepaw could practice her hunting skills later, when Loudpaw and Reedpaw weren't around to tease her. Reedpaw pricked his ears. Do you mean the ones where we lure them away from the camp? He collapsed into a convincing limp, moaning like an injured kitty pet, and dragged his hind legs over the grass. Help me, I'm hurt. Great. Oakheart pointed at Loudpaw. Now what should you be doing? Loudpaw hesitated. I know. Sedgepaw was bouncing with excitement. We race back to camp as fast as we can and hide the elders and kids in the reeds or carry them down river. Exactly. Oakheart glanced at the slender beech trees. Let's try climbing. Beetlenose coughed in surprise. Tree climbing? Oakheart hopped over a jutting root. It's the best place to watch for two legs. He unsheathed his claws. Remember how Echo Mist spotted those two legs bringing their dogs through the marsh last moon? Sedgepaw bristled. It was the first dog I'd ever seen. Crooked smoothed her fur with his tail. It could have found the camp if Echo Mist hadn't spotted it and lured it away. Okay. Beetlenose padded to the base of the trunk. We'll practice tree climbing. He beckoned Reedpaw closer. You go up first. I'll be on your tail. Reedpaw raced to the tree and squatted between its roots. With its grunts, he jumped and grabbed hold of the trunk, then hauled himself up till he reached the lowest branch. He wobbled and clung on as it shivered beneath him. Your turn. Crooked picked out another beech and nudged Sedgepaw forward. She stared at him wide-eyed. Really? You can do it, Crooked encouraged. Keep your claws out and you'll be fine. She leaped and hung onto the bark. Go on, Crooked urged. Remember how you could climb up my back in 3 hops when you were a kit? He remembered her spiky claws with a wince. Sedgepaw pulled herself up, gaining confidence with each jump until she was scooting up the tree like a squirrel. That's great. Crooked climbed after, his claws sinking easily into the soft green leaf bark. He paused and leaned back, peering up through the fluttering leaves. He could just make out Sedgepaw's tabby pelt among the branches. "Stop on the next branch," he called. "Okay." Hermie sounded a long way off. I hope she hasn't gone too high," Crooked muttered. "It's okay," Beetlenose called from a branch next to the tree. "I can see her. There's plenty of branch for her to hang on to." Reedpaw crouched next to his mentor. "Can I climb that high?" "No." Oakheart was still on the ground, trying to persuade Loudpaw to climb. "But I'm a river clan cat," Loudpaw complained. "We're not supposed to climb, we're supposed to swim." "We need to learn new skills," Oakheart coaxed. "You've got claws strong enough to fight, they'll be strong enough to climb." "Crooked Jaw!" Sedgepaw suddenly wailed from above. He looked up, pelt pricking. "Are you okay?" "Crooked Jaw!" She wailed again. Oh, Starkland. Panicking, Crooked Jaw scrambled higher. "I'm coming." Had she climbed too high and lost her nerve? Perhaps she'd found a bee's nest and got stung. "Please don't fall." The ground was hidden below leaves and branches far below. "I can see a dog," Sedgepaw wailed was suddenly clear. "It's huge." Leaves fluttered down around Crooked Jaw. "It's heading this way." Crooked Jaw's fur bushed up. The camp. He peered out through the branches. The meadow stretched far below them. Then he saw it, a wide brown shape swerving through the sedge like a fish slipping through riverweed. He opened his mouth. Dog scent bathed his tongue. He glanced back toward the camp. It was well hidden by willow and reeds. But if the dog kept charging this way, he'd burst straight through it. Thinking fast, Crooked Jaw scrambled down the tree. "Stay up there," he yelled to Sedgepaw. "Don't come down till I tell you." "Did you see it?" Beetlenose was flat against the branch of his tree, ears pricked. "Yes," Crooked Jaw told him. "Heading this way, we have to lure him away from the camp." "What about the apprentices?" "Tell Reedpaw to stay in the tree." Reedpaw was clinging to the next branch. "Can't we help?" Crooked Jaw hissed. "You're too small." There was no time for argument. He dropped to the ground. Oakheart was still trying to persuade Loudpaw to make his first jump. "Get him up there," Crooked Jaw ordered. "Fast. There's a dog heading this way. It's a big one. Too fast for apprentices to outrun. We need to steer it away from the camp." Loudpaw scrambled up the bark while Oakheart nudged him from behind. With a yelp of triumph, the brown apprentice hooked in his claws and began to grapple his way up the slippery trunk. "Keep going," Oakheart urged. Loudpaw fought his way up till he reached the thick branch. With a grunt, he threw himself onto it and clung with his forepaws. Oakheart faced Crooked Jaw. "Which way do we go?" "Into the meadow to get his attention." Crooked Jaw flexed his claws. Beetlenose was beside them. "Then we lead it uphill away from the camp," Crooked Jaw decided. "Right out of our territory." He stiffened. "One of us needs to get to the camp and warn them." "I'll go." Reedpaw slithered down the tree. Beetlenose spun around. "I told you to stay where you were." But Reedpaw had already hared away, throwing up clawfuls of grass in his wake. "He's fast," Beetlenose muttered. "He'll make it." "Good." Crooked Jaw scanned the meadow. The dog was pounding closer. "Come on." He pounded down the slope and dived through the long grass. The dog's vision was fixed in his mind. He raced toward it, seeing nothing but marsh grass. Oakheart was on his tail, Beetlenose at the rear. Swerving through the narrow channels between tussocks, Crooked Jaw hurtled blindly on. He opened his mouth, his breath fast, and tasted dog scent. It bathed his tongue. Heavy paws pounded ahead. "Ready?" he called to his clanmates. As he skidded around the solid clump of grass, dog stench filled his nose. The dog flashed black and bristling at the edge of his vision. He swerved and headed back toward the beeches. Oakheart's pelt flickered through the grass behind him. He turned and was keeping pace. As Crooked Jaw scanned the sedge for Beetlenose, a black pelt burst through a clump of spike rush and shot past him. Taking the lead, the dog yelped with excitement. "Let's take him around the top of the beech copse," Beetlenose yelled. "Is he following?" Crooked Jaw screeched. "Look behind you." Crooked Jaw glanced over his shoulder and saw the dog a tail length behind. It was huge, jaws slavering, teeth glinting. Its shoulders were wide and hard with muscle. Beetlenose pushed ahead, and Crooked Jaw pelted after him. The dog yowled and panted more loudly on the ground. Crooked Jaw weaved quicker on the turns than the dog. First spiked, he rounded the top of the beech copse. He prayed that Sedgepaw and Loudpaw had stayed put and that Reedpaw had made it to camp. The ground hardened under paw as marsh gave way to willow trees. Bursting from the long grass, Crooked Jaw saw Oakheart already zigzagging between the spindly trunks. Ferns loomed over them, and hawthorn bushes grew in tangled clumps, making it impossible to run in a straight line. As Beetlenose's paws steps thrummed behind him, Crooked Jaw dug his claws against the springy earth and pushed harder. The dog tore the air with a howl as it charged out of the long grass. "Split up!" Crooked Jaw yelled. Oakheart veered up the slope. Beetlenose shot straight ahead. Crooked Jaw swerved toward the river. Taking a path around the top of the camp, he glanced back and saw the dog thumping behind him, flying past the camp. He skimmed a patch of withered bluebells. Blood soared in his ears as he weaved between the blurring trees. The dog thundered behind him, saliva flicking from his muzzle. Crooked skidded on the wet moss and lurched sideways, fighting to keep his footing. He could feel the dog's sharp, hot breath on his tail. His lungs screaming, but terror drove him on. The camp was behind them now. Crooked swung sideways and headed downhill, hoping to gain speed. The dog tried to follow, but his clumsy paws slid on the grass and it crashed on its side. Crooked bounded down the slope, the river glittering through the willows. If he could just make it to the water, he could catch his breath. The dog was back on its paws and pounding after him. With a grunt, Crooked broke through the swath of ferns, edging the bank, and burst onto the shore. Rainflower was standing among the rocks at the water's edge, drinking from the river. She spun around, her eyes wide, and stared at him in horror. Dog! Crooked turned and raced back up the slope. The dog couldn't be allowed to reach the shore. He spotted it hurtling towards the ferns, and screeched to get its attention. The dog tried to turn when it saw him, but its weight carried it down through a long, skidding arc that crashed through the bushes onto the shore. A terrified shriek split the air. Rainflower! Crooked whipped around, claws throwing up earth as he ran for the shore. He shot through the ferns in time to see his mother hit the water. The dog stopped, its eyes glittering with surprise, and glanced back at the cat thrashing among the rocky shallows. Its gaze lit up. Crooked growled and leaped for the dog, slashing its nose. He turned and ran. The dog howled, rattling stones as it gave chase. Crooked gulped for air as he hauled himself up the hill. He felt the ground shake beneath his paws. The dog was gaining on him. Oakheart burst from the hawthorn ahead. Go and save Rainflower. Beatenose skidded out beside him. We'll take the dog. Crooked dived into the prickly branches and crouched, trembling as paws padded away through the willows. Gasping, he struggled out of the bushes, bounded downhill. He scrambled through the ferns and scanned the shore. Rainflower? His mother lay in the water, pressed by the current against a jagged rock, while the river slid silently around her, tugging at her soft gray fur. Crooked darted down the bank and splashed into the shallows. Leaning forward, he grabbed her scruff and dragged her from the water. Leave her. Mapleshade's scent enveloped him. Save your clanmates. The water, drenching Rainflower's pelt, tasted of blood. She must have hit a rock when the dog knocked her into the river. With a jolt of horror, Crooked realized her eyes were open and blank. He let her body fall onto the pebbles and backed away. I have to fetch Brambleberry. Mapleshade's outline appeared in front of him, her orange and white fur almost transparent so that he could see the reeds and water behind. Get back to the chase. You have to be there. Remember your promise. Crooked hesitated. Mapleshade hissed in his face. You want to be great, don't you? Crooked glanced once more at his mother. Her body lay limp and still, with water streaming from her pelt. What else could he do for her now? Taking a deep breath, he turned and ran up the bank. He caught up with his clanmates on the other side of the hawthorn bushes. The dog, was tiring, tongue hanging, lumbering clumsily through the undergrowth. Crooked pelted past him. He fell in beside Oakheart. Oakheart glanced at him out of the corner of his eyes and kept running. The trees were thinning and the land flattened out as they approached the farm. The warriors broke through the River Clan's scent line, leaving their territory. A wooden fence loomed ahead and they squeezed under it, racing into a wide field. Cows moved slowly across the grass. The dog yelped behind them. It couldn't get under the fence and was venting its fury in snarls. Triumph flared at Crooked's belly. We did it! He came to a halt beside his clanmates. They turned, panting, and stared at the dog. Its eyes burned with rage as it scrabbled at the dirt beneath the fence. Crooked arched his back and hissed, Dumb dog! Oakheart circled him, bristling. Beetlenose's pants, white rims showing around his eyes. A shout rang through the willows. Crooked crouched in the grass as the two legs showed up behind the dog, grabbed it by the neck. Cursing and yelping, the two legs dragged it away. Relief flooded Crooked. Is Rainflower okay? Oakheart's question hit him like a stone. Crooked stared at his brother. I was too late, he whispered. She's dead? Oakheart's eyes glittered. Was it the dog? Did it bite her? It knocked her into the water. Crooked lowered his gaze. She must have hit her head on a rock, and she fell. Oakheart stiffened. Maybe she was stunned. Did you get Brambleberry? She might be awake by now. Hope edged his mute. I left her by the river. You've left her? Oakheart blinked at him. You didn't get Brambleberry? There wasn't time. I had to stop the dog. Oakheart bristled. We were taking care of the dog. I left you to take care of Rainflower. The hardness in his brother's mew turned Crookedjaw's blood cold. Had he made the wrong decision? He closed his eyes. No, I promised to save my clan, and that's what I did. Rainflower was dead. She was definitely dead, wasn't she? Crookedjaw blinked open his eyes. Oakheart was racing away under the fence and into the willows. Crookedjaw headed after him, skidding down the slope and bursting on to the shore. Oakheart was crouching beside Rainflower. Her eyes had clouded, blood stained the rocks around her head. She's dead. Oakheart turned and stared at Crookedjaw.